Welcome to Layer Up Lab. We're going to explore all things 3D printing, and we're going to walk you through a project that I've decided to take on. So my daughter reached out to me, who just had a new baby, which makes me a grandpa. And she asked me if I could make for her a breast milk basket, so that she can stack her bags in the freezer and pull them out when she's ready to use them. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to walk through a tool to design that, and we're going to design it together. So you'll find along the way that I am not I'm not an expert at using this software, which is an awesome thing, I think, because you can see that, just by knowing a few simple things, you can make things, which is great. So here we go. The CAD program that I use is Onshape. One thing about this program is it's free. It's all browser based, so it doesn't run on my PC. It runs in the browser. But in the free plan, everything that you design is public use. So just be aware of that. I think it's a fantastic program, and I think it's something that I'm going to be using more and more. So we're just going to dive in. We're going to create a new document, and we're going to call it breast milk basket. So like it said create a public document. So this is where it starts. Right here, we're looking at some planes, and I will tell you, I'm not going to do like a tutorial, but I'm just going to show you how I use the program, and with just a little bit of effort. Watch a couple tutorials if you need to. But just coming in here, exploring and clicking buttons, I think is just the best way to learn. So we've got planes on the X, Y, and Z axis. So what we're going to do is we're going to start from the top down. So that's our top plane, and we're going to lock into that one. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and sketch.
What's up, brother?
So you'll find that in these CAD programs, really that's all it is you're doing a sketch on a plane, and then you're modifying that sketch.
What's up, brother?
And then you just continue to do the same loop over and over again. And you can build some pretty fantastic stuff. So we're in our sketch.
What's up, brother?
We're going to take a rectangle. And I know the dimensions of these bags. And so we got to, factor in a little tolerance. So we're just going to grab that and pull it out, and then we can adjust it. So the bag is 120 millimeters wide. And we need to give some width for the walls of the basket, and then some other features that we're going to add in later. So we need to think in advance a couple steps, but really it's not that hard. So we've got 120 millimeters, and then we're going to need, we'll say 5 millimeters. So that's 2.5 on both sides. So we're going to add 5. And then we need probably another 5 millimeters on both sides to factor in the feature so that we have room to pull it out. So we're going to go 135 millimeters wide. Then we're going to hit enter. And then it needs to be 175 millimeters deep. And then so we need that 5 millimeters for the walls. So we're going to go 180. So here, all we have is a big rectangle. And what we're going to do is we're going to say we like that rectangle. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select this rectangle, and we're going to extrude it. And extrude just means you're making an object out of a sketch. So we're going to extrude the face of this rectangle up. And we're going to go 175 millimeters tall. And so what that does is that gives us a cube. And then so on this cube, we're going to just continue to repeat that process. We're going to select a face. When you have objects, every side here would be a face. These are planes, and these are faces. So we're going to sketch
up,
on
brother?
this face. So we're going to grab a new sketch.
What's up, brother?
And then what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of line out, we're gonna create some measurements that's gonna help us do our next step. Oh, there's one more thing we need to do. But we don't need to sketch yet. We need to hollow this out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna select this and use this shell tool. And we're gonna say we want 2 millimeter walls. And then boom. Now we went from a cube to a box. Got an empty box. And that's what we want. And then, so we'll say, yes, we like that. And one thing I want to do too is I'm going to select this face inside the box. And I'm going to extrude it 1 more millimeter because we want the bottom to be a little more sturdy.
It's so thick.
So we like that. Now we've got a box with a 3 millimeter bottom because we added that millimeter. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into a sketch.
What's up, brother?
And we're going to line this out. So what we need to do is we're going to come up that 3 millimeters total on both sides. The 3 millimeters. And then we're going to take this line and go straight across. Okay. So now we've got a 3 millimeter line that helps us understand where the bottom of this box really is. And then we're going to continue with this line and we're going to come in, do the same thing over here. So really, all we did was create this dot. We need these 2 dots. And then anytime you have a dot, it's called a node. And you can manipulate those how you need. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to make a triangle here so that you could pull these bags out. So we're going to grab our line again and we're going to grab this node and we're going to come out $70 millimeters. Oh. Control Z is your friend. And we're going to do the same thing here. Grab our line. Come out here. 70 millimeters. Now, they're probably not the same angle, but we'll fix it with the dimension tool. So D for dimension. We're going to choose this and this. And then we're going to go pretty close. 50. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Dimension, we're still in the dimension tool. 50 degrees. So when we're 3D printing, anything that is sharper than 45 degrees isn't gonna print very well. So what we want to do is we want to be anything above 45 degrees because that will allow, when it's building layers, it'll give it the surface it needs to build on top of itself without making a mess. So we want to keep that 45 degree rule in mind whenever we're designing something that we're going to 3D print. And I think I want to make these a little long. So let's go 80. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to connect the top with an arch. And we're going to go into a tangent arch. And we just have to select these 2 nodes. And then computer does it for us. So boom, there we go. We have got a triangle. So what we're going to do with this triangle that we drew is we're going to cut. So it's just the opposite of extrude. So we like this sketch.
What's up, brother?
We're going to choose our extrude tool, and then we're going to click inside this sketch.
What's up, brother?
And that, see right now it defaults to add, but we're going to go to remove. And then we're just going to cut that out. And we want to cut that out. And now you can see we've got ourselves a little triangle. And now I'm going to make a little just some little features in here. Grab this edge, and that edge, and then we're going to do a fillet. And we want to do at 2 millimeters, fine. Just to round it out a little bit. See, it looks a little nicer. So now we've got a box with a hole to pull out the bags. And what we want to do is we want to probably do some kind of pattern or something to, you know, make it interesting. And the more that we add designs out of here, the less time it's going to take to print. But I will tell you, I learned the hard way that if you make too much space, you're not going like between your designs and artifacts, it's gonna be too hard to print, because if you take up too much space, there's not going to be anything for to support the other layers on top of it. So just be cautious of that. So we're going to go back into a sketch.
What's up, brother?
We're going to grab this and we are going to do some circles. So we've got a center point circle, and we're just going to put in some circles. And you know what? We could measure them. We could be, very precise, but we can also just do whatever the heck we want. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay. So now that we've done that, we are going to say we like that, and then we're going to extrude again. And we're just going to come and select all these circles that we just drew. Okay. And something that we can do that's kind of a little cheat is we can go and cut it through. Oh, we need to remove. We can cut it straight through the entire object. So now our cuts are mirrored on both sides. And that's pretty neat. We like that. So now we're going to come over here on this side and do some of the same stuff. We'll get our circle. Go. Something like this. Kind of whatever you want. Maybe it looks like Swiss cheese.
Sometimes
that's okay.
I dream about cheese.
We'll do one right here. So what's nice about these circles is that circles tend to be round.
Well, duh.
And they fit nicely into our 3D printer. The angle up top, it might get a little rough at the top here. I could support it all, but I can also just, file down the imperfections at the end. So we don't need to be too thoughtful when we put in circles. So I can do Shift E, and that jumps me to extrude. And the nice thing about doing Shift E from a sketch
What's up, brother?
is that it automatically selects all your sketch. So you can see I've got 5+ on the cursor. It says 5+. It's because I have 5+ drawings, artifacts, sketches selected. So we're going to do the same thing that we did in the front. We're going to remove, and we're going to go some arduous long number, and we're going to see, cut those all out. So we like that. The only thing left we have to do is, it looks a little kind of naked on the bottom here. So we're going to do a few other ones here. Don't forget to grab your favorite morning drink. Okay, so we added some circles, and we're going to do the same thing. Shift E, grabbed our 3 artifacts, and we're going to remove. And this time we don't want to go all the way through because it would mess up our triangle in the front. So this is perfect. And then boom, we've got a Swiss cheese milk bag basket. And really it's that simple. Now, this is a pretty simple object. It's not complicated, I'll be honest. But with this same concept, you can make all kinds of things. This is just really just scratching the surface. So this is a great first project. If you need a basket, you don't have to put the slot at the bottom. This could just be a little, desk side trash basket or whatever. So it's that easy to make things. So what we're going to do now is we're going to send this over to the slicer, and then we're going to print it. So what we need to do on the left over here, this is great. So on the left is kind of like our table of context. It's the chapters of our story that we went through to build out what we did, right? So we can even come in here and, change things. We can change the dimensions of the beginning box size. And that will change some other things, and maybe we'll have to adjust them, but you can go back and adjust your story, which I think is a pretty neat feature. But what we got is we've got this part. So this part, we're going to right click and we're going to export it. Now I've exported a couple things out of here. It's going to have some things that I've already selected. But what we want is we want an STL file. So an STL file is just an object file that the slicer knows what it is. So we're going to name it. And this is actually version 3 for me. So it's okay to fail. And now we've got a download. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our slicer tool. And me personally, I like OrcaSlicer. I think it's a great slicer. A lot of other, proprietary slicers are based off of OrcaSlicer. So if you're in using Bamboo Lab or you're using a snap maker, they're all derivatives of OrcaSlicer of OrcaSlicer. So if you get in here and you learn this, you're going to be pretty comfortable if you move to another slicer. So it's a great place to start. We're going to use my Elegoo Centauri carbon to print this. So we're going to grab this object, add an object. We've got our downloads, and then voila. Here is the basket we just made in our slicer. So I've got the settings I need and the filament that I need. I'll be doing some more content about, choosing filament and calibrating your filament, which I think is an important step. And yeah, so we've got this. We're going to slice it. And it's going to think about that for a little bit, making all the layers. Okay, so now we've got an object in our slicer. So you can see on the right here, you can't see. Too bad. But over here, this is our layers. Every layer, it's telling the printer, which is just a robot, what to do and how to do it. And then on the bottom, this slider shows what the printer is doing on each layer. So if you're curious why things are doing what they're doing, that might be a good way to look at it. So we don't want a brim. So we got to slice again. And all right, here you have it. Here is the basket we made and printed. Now, what's cool about this is that, I don't know, about 5 hours ago, I didn't have a basket. Someone asked me, hey, can I get a basket? And then now, 5 hours later, I've got a basket. So not only do I have a basket that I can give away, but if I thought this basket was so special and everybody needed this basket, I could probably just sell this basket. And so I think that's what's really cool about 3D printing is that not only am I cutting out, manufacturing, wait time, shipping, all these other resources, I'm saving money and time because it's manufactured in my home, which I think is a whole separate topic. To be able to manufacture things at your home, I think is a game changer. And that's why I kind of think that 3D printers are going to be more common in more homes because people are going to see the utility of it. If you go look at my Facebook, you'll see that I was doing some work on my car and I needed a fuse puller. And instead of having to drive to, the hardware store, buy a fuse puller or worse, they didn't have a fuse puller that I could buy by itself. I had to buy a whole fuse kit with a fuse puller. I just went downstairs and 30 minutes later, boom, I had a fuse puller. So that's just some of the things that you can do when you have a 3D printer. So thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. Just remember to on a recap real quick. Just remember when you're modeling, all it is sketch,
What's up, brother?
modify, and then sketch
What's up, brother?
and modify. You're just doing that in a loop. You're just continuing to evolve the shapes. And I'll do some more. I don't know how much design videos I want to make. We'll just see how it goes. But I'm happy to make more stuff. And a quick shout out to Shop Therapy. Go check out his channel if you're looking to learn how to model. He was a creator that I found when I was early designing, and he just does a really great job. And honestly, I'm trying to emulate because he did a really great job of just kind of going through the workflow and having it be more about, the way you think about modeling rather than just here's all these buttons, here's all these features, just kind of sharing the creative process of modeling. And so shout out to Shop Therapy. Thanks so much for inspiring me to model. So very cool. All right. Till next time.